So we'll move on to the next group. The next group is called Journey into Abang Garde, a transdisciplinary journey in the representation of Malay traditional music and an investigation into tradition. So there are two presenters for this. Tzang Merwyn Tong is an award-winning Singapore-based scriptwriter, educator, and independent filmmaker. An alumnus of Berlinale Talent Campus in 2005, Tzang has made 4 films that won awards and acclaim in Israel, Rotterdam, Montreal, Lund, and Los Angeles. And his most recent work, Fairyville, 2015, is Singapore's first dystopian teen movie and was selected to be the closing day film of the 2019 Central European Film Festival in Romania. He's the founder and festival director of First Shots, a student-run film festival. And he's accompanied by Zulkifli, Mohammad, Amin. He is a multidisciplinary artist educator and artistic director of Nusantara Arts and the assistant conductor and youth leader of the Orchestra Malay. Zul is, he's an educator and he considers teaching an art form a constant reflection of action, creativity in developing the craft, appreciation of flaws, recognition of bravery, and knowing each canvas as unique. Zulkifli is also the recipient of the National Arts Council's Young Artist Award 2018. So let's welcome this group.
Oh, hello, good afternoon. Can I clarify that my slide is showing the full screen version of the slides?
You might want to use the slideshow option on top.
Yeah, you'll just have to swap the screen over. Yep, that one.
Okay, is it better now?
Yep, that's perfect.
All right. Okay, thank you so much. All right, the title of our presentation, thank you for the introduction, and I think it's really a big honor for us. Thank you to RMIT for having Zul and myself present this little interesting discovery that we have. The title of our presentation is called Journey into the Abang Garde. It is our inter/transdisciplinary journey into representations of Malay traditional music. It is put together by 2 presenters. My name is Tzang Merwyn Tong, independent filmmaker, writer, director, and I'm also a media educator at the School of Technology for the Arts at Republic Polytechnic.
Okay, hi. Thank you, Amin, for the introduction. My name is Zulkifli Muhammad Amin, and I'm a multidisciplinary artist, researcher, educator, and also an advocate for Malay traditional music. Yeah,
something very interesting to take note is that I'm Chinese.
And I'm a Malay.
And our identities as Chinese and Malay has a lot to do with the presentation that we are giving today called Abang Garde.
Okay, so what is Malayness? What does it mean to be Malay in Singapore, and how can Malayness be represented in art or in music? So this was some of the questions that Tzang and I asked when we started our investigation into inter-transdisciplinary approach to understand Malay traditional music and how it can be presented. My other questions include what is traditional and what makes traditional music and what makes music traditional. So instead of trying to explain with words or visuals, I actually took Tzang. I think next slide. I took Tzang to my rehearsal space at Wisma Geylang Serai, as you can see from the picture here. My orchestra was rehearsing for a recording of a new song that I composed. The title is Jelajah Abang Garde. Jelajah in Malay means journey, and Abang also in Malay means brother. So I'm actually his bigger brother. As you can see, Tzang here, bottom right in yellow. We did not try actually to introduce anything to him when he was there. We did not try to demonstrate anything to him. We just left him at the corner while we rehearsed. It was actually an actual rehearsal. So it was actually very interesting for me as well to see Tzang looking so interested and actually very curious at something that I'm already so familiar with. I watched as he talked to one of my musicians, the one near where he was seated, and he actually asked about the instruments itself. I remember him being very puzzled that we are using guitars, non-conventional instruments like guitars, keyboards, violins, as well as traditional instrument called rebana. He was asking me what makes music traditional because of this inclusion of non-Western and traditional, non-Western and Western instruments into the music itself. So here again, Tzang talking to one of my musicians.
I sincerely wanted to ask more questions. I wanted to ask all these questions because I'm really grateful that Zul has this kind of a cultural confidence and also the kind of kind enough to take the questions that I have, because my questions can come across as interrogations about culture. I ask questions like, where is the Malay in the work? If we are using Western instruments like the guitar, like the electric guitar, like the violin, like the cello, what then makes this a traditional Malay music space? And what makes Malay traditional music then? All right. I also observe instruments that are actually Indian and of Middle Eastern origin. So if these instruments are used, in which space, or where is the borders for you to define Malayness? More interestingly, when I start talking to the other musicians about the rebanas and the drums that they were using, I realized that some of these drums were from Eastern Java, others were from Sumatra, others were representations of Bali, and others were representations of Western Java. And it makes me realize now, wow, what is Malay now? Where is the boundary? And what then is traditional Malay music? So I realized that I was entering a space that I know nothing about. And that led me to these kind of questions that I'm asking. I'm entering into an ethnic space, a music space. Inevitably, as a filmmaker, as a visual storyteller and a visual thinker, I enter with some kind of a baggage. What kind of baggage? I enter with preconceived ideas, expectations, perceptions, or what I expect of traditional, ethnic Malay in order to navigate the space. It is an inevitable tool that I used to help me navigate into this very, very new and unfamiliar space that I'm in, the music space and the ethnic space. Moving on next. This is what academics and researchers would call or term museumification, whereby it's about the displaying or the preserving in, as if in a museum, transforming into or confining into a museum. Academic Philip Fei Yanxie described museumification as an extreme expression of cultural evolution that actually freezes the culture for the purpose of display, like in a museum. And I realized that that is actually what I'm trying to do. Unconsciously, I was trying to visualize and create a visual that I can freeze or understand. Through this freezing, that I could understand what I think is traditional Malay music. In this really, really good article called Manufacturing Malayness by Danish professor Martin Müller, he suggested that for a long time, the notion of Malayness, when discussed, was always conceptualized, articulated, and debated in a set of foundational British discourses on this topic. He wants to remind us that these conceptualizations have to be accessed within their contemporary, colonial, and epistemic contexts. So that's where I realized the kind of problems that we are facing in the way we investigate into something as ephemeral as culture.
Yeah, so because of these questions that Tzang asked while he was at the rehearsal space, I went on to actually inquire further into my practice. So while feeding Tzang with information, the rehearsal, the instruments, there are actually new discoveries of information, and I myself have new questions, and that had led me to return to relearn and to reinvestigate the fundamentals of Malay traditional music. So as you can see from the slide here, so there's me going to actually a workshop, a very basic Malay traditional workshop run by this Malay traditional music expert, Mr. Arifin. So really going to the basic and fundamentals and trying to ask questions that I have already know and try to reinvestigate what information I have. So basically, when we talk about Malayness, we talk about Malay world. Next slide, yes. Yeah, we talk about Malay world. the Malay world is actually very vast. The Malay world is actually a concept or an expression that has been used by different authors, groups, historians over time to denote several different notions based on their racial category, linguistic group, cultural group, political views, heritage, or language. So basically, it's actually a very vast concept. Yeah. So it is, in other words, a very wide spectrum of category when we talk about Malay world. So I think what we investigate is actually what actually makes Malay music Malay. So I think that's the fundamental questions that we ask throughout our project.
We realized that we may need to change the way we investigate into culture. Tapping into my skills as a filmmaker, we look at our investigation and realize that we moved from a very healthy space of confusion, unnecessary confusion, to some kind of renewed clarity about what we are doing or what we are investigating. And for me to be inspired by the space in which Zul has brought me, I decided that our artistic process will be that of to create a script where me being inspired by the music, to create some kind of an output, the artistic output, as something that is visual, so as to being inspired by the script. Okay, being inspired by the music. So it comes to a place of renewed understanding and explaining. We are trying to explain what we now newly understand about how decentralized the unterritorialized understanding of Malayness. Okay, so it is still a case of us working in a very multidisciplinary way. Me using script writing to respond to the space of music and culture, and Zul using the questions that are asked to create the sound, music, and to mix the music, for which I will put together. So Zul took this time to separate himself. He started to mix the music, and when he's done, he decided first, instead of sending me the music for me to listen, we decided to listen to the music together. All right, to listen to the entire composition together. We booked a space in La Salle, on campus, and we went back physically to the space, and we decided to sit down and hear together. It was I brought my script and I was ready to share it with him as well. But when we listened to the song in a space together, something really interesting happened. There was some kind of understanding where for a long time I realized I've been working separately. I've been writing and putting visuals to a demo track that I've heard and trying to contain it. And I realized when I listened to the music with him, that music is something that is actually very three-dimensional. Music is something that is outside the space of a two-dimensional screen. And I am trying to confine something as three-dimensional as music into a two-dimensional space, like something as flat as text on the page or dialogue on the screen, while not allowing the music to speak for itself. And we realize, or at least I realized, gaps within my practice that I'm trying to impose into my understanding of music. Listening together, we got inspired, and we realized that we need to arrive to a new question. The new question is, how can we not let the words speak for the music, not let visuals speak for the music, but let the music itself speak together with words and music? How can we let the music speak? While playing the music, something amazing happened. I put my script aside, deciding that this script is not doing justice to this interdisciplinary project. I took a marker and went all the way to the whiteboard with the music playing behind. And me listening to the music and responding, I wrote down these 3 words on the whiteboard. I wrote down, where am I? Later, when you hear the music, you will understand where this word is coming from. The music has brought me to a space and I wanted to ask, where am I? Very, very instinctively, Zul stood behind me and said in his nice little booming voice, you are in my world. At this point, there was some kind of magic that fills the air. He kept quiet for a while and the music kind of fills in to complement the kind of questions that I'm asking. Without thinking too much in a very, very streams of consciousness way, I wrote down my next question and the music seems to answer. Sometimes Zul comes in and adds on, not as Zul, but as if he is the inner consciousness of the music. So I continue my questions, responding to the music, allowing the music to speak with me, while I respond back with another question, while Zul plays some kind of inner consciousness of the music itself, replying back to me. Together like this, we started writing words, not from me alone, but words from me, Zul, and the music. All right. So this is where now music and filmmaker begins to start to talk together. I realized that something interesting is happening here, and it's almost psychoanalytical, almost as if I am representing the outer consciousness and Zul is representing the inner consciousness, and the music itself is this little organism that is speaking to both me and him in this way, through the and we are now trying to re-express it through the language of cinema. Zul.
Okay, so as you can see from the slides, this is very unlike how we worked before. We were separate artists of separate disciplines doing our own thing, filmmaking, music. But now the lines are blurred. I'm no longer the musician, the composer. He's no longer the scriptwriter, director. He is actually just responding to the music. I am actually responding to his question. I'm giving the words while he is interacting with the song. And it was all on the whiteboard, as you can see here, while the music is playing on loop. So I'm no longer the Malay guy. I think we played quite a number of times, at least 5 or 10 times, you know, at least. So it's actually I'm no longer the Malay guy, and he's no longer the Chinese guy. So I became his inner consciousness, and he became the outer consciousness. So we actually became a dialogue, the two of us. So not wanting to disrupt the momentum, I thought about how I can translate these new materials into form. So Tzang founded a cloud-based video editing platform. It's called WeVideo. This platform allows us to collaboratively edit from 2 different computers remotely. Tzang laid out the music first. As you can see there, music of Jelajah Abang Garde, and that actually inspired our writing as a bass track. So it's actually shared access for both of us. So meanwhile, Tzang also recorded his voice parts by himself and based on the music and without any central direction. So there wasn't any direction, any directing at all. So placed on roughly on the timeline. So what is timeline? Maybe the previous slide. So you see the wave, the sound wave. Yeah, that's the timeline. So I went in, I listened to Tzang's recording, voice recording. So recorded my part based on what I felt appropriate. So there wasn't any direction. It's just about where I felt appropriate. So I recorded it, and instinctively we shifted our own voices around on the timeline. So making our own decision on the pacing. I did not try to be the music director. Tzang did not try to be the editor. So we just jam, you know, like in the jazz band, call response kind of fashion. So it is at this moment where we discovered another common native language between us, between myself, the musician, and a filmmaker. It's actually the timeline, right? In both our worlds as musician and filmmaker, the timeline is where we plot the journey. The film is a journey, and the song is actually a journey. So coincidentally, the title Jelajah means journey. As artists, we take audience on a journey through time and feel different things at different points. So that's the language of our practice for this particular project. And you can see the lines. Yeah. Over to you, Tzang. Tzang there.
Sorry, I didn't realize that I was muted. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, Ken. This is where I realized that our relationship has moved on from multidisciplinary to interdisciplinary and almost transdisciplinary. Because if I use the framework of, give me a moment, because we are now mixing stock footages with dialogue, words, music, and also kind of using spaces in music, as well as silences and dialogue, to create a kind of, not a film, but a filmic expression. What we created was not a music video. What we created was not a film. It was a filmic expression and an investigation into Malayness, and if Malayness, questioning if Malayness can be represented in art or in music by a filmmaker and a musician. Our work became some kind of a meta-narrative of our working relationship. Zul and Tzang interacting with each other's artistic practice. Using the understanding as expressed by Alexander Yesenius, who is a music researcher and a research musician, he talks about how transdisciplinary is something that has some kind of a journey as well. We observe that our journey from multidisciplinary to interdisciplinary to transdisciplinary mirrors his model over here, how we move actually from isolation to harmonization to some kind of natural infusion and immersion, where the output becomes a thing of its own, not music video, not film. And we are already moving away from the interdisciplinary space into possibly transdisciplinary, using both Sergei Eisenstein's montage theory as well as what film editors call the Kuleshov effect. We decided that the meanings that we express in the film will not be in the image itself, but in the collision of images. So on their own, in the images that you see later in our work, the pictures themselves don't match the accompanying words or the dialogue that is said by Zul and myself, but rather it is the following image, the image after which, and its relation with each other, the juxtaposed image before and after, that creates some kind of a new meaning or new response. Using Kuleshov effect to explain, these images do not change, but when we change the image before and after, they all add to some kind of a meaning in filmmaking. All right. So Robert Bresson, a French film theorist as well as filmmaker, talks about how the ability to cut from one subject to another, constructing a flow of meaning rather than meaning within each picture itself, and emotions through carefully chosen stream of images, isn't really possible in any medium but film. So the sense making right now is no longer in the visual on the screen, but the visual that is created in the mind. The power of the story is actually inside the interplay between the visual in front, the visual behind, and its relationship with the music as well as the dialogue. With that, I play the video clip and let's see if you can hear it. Let me check if you can hear the sound. Can I quick check for audio? Is there audio? Okay, good. All right, with that, where am I?
You are in my world. Jelajah Abang Garde.
That's your song. The song you wrote.
It is a musical piece, a composition, a story.
Is this Malay? Where is the Malay?
Jelajah means journey.
How is this music Malay traditional music?
The Malay is in the journey, not in one place that is defined, fixed, and locked.
So, traditional is
It is in the journey. The journey is in the song. The journey is a tradition. Our music uses many instruments borrowed from other culture and traditions. Our music is in the rhythm, the sound, the soul. The Malay world doesn't have a center, a capital, owner, or institution. As a Malay musician of this generation, I am continuing this journey.
I'd like to take a quick moment to share with you a very interesting footage between interesting conversation between me and one of Zul's music.
Malay rhythm.
This is where the musician explains to me that the same drum can be played both the Sumatran style, the Javanese style, and the Balinese style, using just the same drum, and yet they are distinctively different.
Thank you.
Okay. So what have we learned about this exercise? Let me share my screen. Next slide. Okay. What have we learned about? What are some new insights that we have about interdisciplinary? We realized that the pedagogical applications that we can have from this experience is that for us to truly enter into an interdisciplinary space, we need to allow ourselves to be inspired by each other's practice. We need to be open to enter into each other's worlds without drawing lines, the same way we try to draw lines with culture. After drawing the lines, we should be ready also to blur the lines to make sure that we do not stay within our discipline so that we can naturally interplay, be truly interdisciplinary about it. And the bonus is that hopefully with this kind of openness, we can find some kind of a common language. And in our case, the common language is that of how both filmmaker and musician uses time, uses the journey of putting things into different parts of the journey to tell a story. All right, with that, I think we end our presentation. It was our understanding or our investigation into culture. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tzang and Zul. That's a really rich description of your process and your discovery into transdisciplinary work. Tzang, yeah, okay. So maybe we can have all the presenters come back online.